This is the story of Elvin C. Hodge. At around 8 a.m. on May the 24th, 1990, Elvin C. Hodge, a well-known Chattanooga, Tennessee church pianist, left his home on Central Avenue and headed toward Roseville Boulevard to pay some bills. He didn't drive, and due to having an arthritic leg, he had to use a cane to get around. So more often than not, he would catch the bus to wherever he was going. There were never any reported sightings of Elvin after he left his home, and no one has heard from him since. Police actually believe that there may be a connection between the disappearance of Elvin and the murders of 44-year-old Leonard Collier and 71-year-old Warren Hill. All three men worked together at a local company, and while Elvin has not been located, Collier and Hill have. They had both been beaten to death in the same brutal manner. There's actually a suspect in this case, but there isn't enough substantial evidence to bring charges. If you think you may know something to help locate Elvin C. Hodge or help authorities, please contact the Chattanooga Police Department at 423-643-5055. This is dated October the 19th, 2005. This week, Crime Stoppers featured a 1990 missing persons case that remains unsolved. Elvin Hodge, a well-known local man, a church piano player, disappeared on May the 24th, 1990. He was last seen walking from his home on Central Avenue, and he has not been heard from since. The suspicious nature of Mr. Hodge's disappearance and the years that have passed indicate foul play, but investigators have no evidence. Mr. Hodge was 60 years old when he disappeared. He was 5 foot 9 inches tall and weighed 165 pounds. He had short graying hair. He had crippling arthritis and used a cane to walk. According to police reports, the subject was last seen leaving his residence on May the 24th, 1990 at approximately 8 o'clock. This subject left on foot and was known to ride the bus. Now, did the bus driver say if they picked this man up or not? He was born November the 3rd, 1929. He was 60 years old when he disappeared. His nickname, or an alias that he was known to go by, was Thomas Wilson. He had a crippled left leg due to arthritis. It's believed that he was last seen wearing a pair of beige pants and a burgundy jacket. He wore heavy black frame glasses, and he carried a walking cane. Now, Leonard Collier was 44 years old, and he was murdered in December of 1992. He was found beaten to death in his car in a St. Elmo parking lot. And the next man was April of 1993. He was 71-year-old named Warren Hill, and he was found beaten to death in the same town, St. Elmo. There are several facts in each case that are all similar. All of the men were past employees of the same company. Mr. Hodge is the only one that was never found. Both Mr. Collier and Mr. Hill were both killed in the same area, and they were both beaten to death. During the course of the investigation, one potential suspect was developed that police believe was involved in all three cases, but more evidence needed to be put together. Now, this is from 2017, Hamilton County, Tennessee. A cold case unit took the case, and it involves 200 unsolved homicides in Hamilton County. Now, one of these is stepfather of the NFL player Reggie White. Now, Leonard Collier was the stepfather of Reggie White, who was an NFL player. And there's not a whole lot on this. It's just saying that he is one of the cases that they picked up, the cold case unit. This is what I've been able to find about Leonard Collier. This is from a newspaper article talking about the father of Michael Jordan, the NBA player. This is from the Associated Press. Reggie White, the NFL player for the Green Bay Packers, says the slaying of Michael Jordan's father bears an eerie resemblance to the circumstances surrounding his stepfather's unsolved murder. If it's a natural death, it wouldn't be so hard to take, says White, but for someone to have killed your father or any member of your family, I think I understand what Michael Jordan is going through, as I've gone through the same thing. Leonard Collier, who was his stepfather, was found dead in a parked car on December the 19th at St. Elmo Recreation Center in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Police believe Collier stopped to help what appeared to be a stranded motorist, and he was robbed and bludgeoned to death with a hammer. Several suspects have been questioned, but no charges have been brought. White says he was in total shock when his wife told him that his stepfather had been murdered. And it goes on to just talk a little bit more about Michael Jordan's father, who was robbed and shot after had pulled over on the highway in Charlotte, North Carolina. A lot of people believe that these men's deaths and the disappearance of Elvin C. Hodge is all connected to the fact that they all at one time worked together or worked for the same company. I'm not sure that they all worked together, but there wasn't a whole lot on the other man featured in this story. Warren Hill. What I found about him was that Warren Hill was found murdered on April the 6th, 1993. He was sitting in his apartment. He was still sitting in his chair. There was no forced entry. Warren collected rent from other tenants in the apartment where he lived, in the apartment building where he lived, and that day he had collected the rent. His wallet was missing, but was found later on Tennessee Avenue. Police believe that it was some type of robbery and that the person was someone that he knew. They had a potential suspect, but they had no additional evidence to make an arrest. They also believe this same killer was responsible for the two other murders of Elvin Hodge and Collier. Now, if this were the case, then robbery may not have been the motive. Robbery may have been, of course, if he had this money that he had collected rent from these tenants that morning and he had a full wallet full of money, they may have taken the money just as an attempt to make it look like robbery was the motive, and it may not have been. I couldn't find a whole lot on the background about these three men and where they worked and why people thought that maybe these three men were killed because they knew each other or they had worked at the same place. I was looking through here to see if I could find anything else. There were quite a few unsolved missing and murdered people cases that came up from that area. But as of right now, that's where this stands. Like I said, what I could find about Elvin Hodge that led me to these other two men. Elvin C. Hodge was a well-known Chattanooga church pianist. He left his home on Central Avenue and was headed down toward Rossville Boulevard to pay some bills. So once again, this man may have had some money on him. There were never any reported sightings of him after he was seen leaving his home. Whatever, the police had reason to believe that their cases were connected because they worked at the same company. They don't go into any detail. That's all there was on him. It didn't go into detail about where they worked, what type of work they were doing, if it was believed that they knew something about their employer or another coworker, or if if the police believe that someone there targeted them for some other personal reason. But anyone with any information can contact the Chattanooga Police Department at 423-643-5055. And I will look more into their cases, and if anything newer comes up, I will come back and do a follow-up. Thanks for watching.